Hello, and welcome back to Circle in Faith. I'm your host, Christine Barella, and I'm just delighted and honored that you're joining me today. And if you're a new-time listener or viewer, I just want to welcome you to a community of women whereby we believe in faith, resilience, and God's unfailing love. And if you're a returning listener or viewer, I just want to thank you for walking alongside of me and allowing me to walk alongside of you in this amazing faith journey in our lives. And today, I'm so excited. We have an amazing guest, Chris. Thank you so much for being here today. I know your story is just going to inspire so many women. And so before we dive in, though, I must read a little bit about Chris, a little bit on your bio. Okay. Here we go. Chris Eve, and she's got a lot of acronyms behind her, a lot of his letters, so you can tell us all those degrees that you've earned. Is the founder of First Step to Wellness and brings more than 30 years of experience in the medical field to her work in integrative health. With a background in respiratory therapy, she spent decades in conventional healthcare before transitioning into holistic practice focused on identifying underlying system stress and supporting the body's natural ability to rebalance. Chris holds a diploma in homeopathic medicine, is certified in applied clinical nutrition, and has advanced training in nutrition response testing, bioenergetic testing, and heart sound recorder analysis. Through this integrative approach, she helps clients move beyond symptom management and toward a more foundational, strategic path to health. Wow, I love that. And that's amazing what you do. And I know you're going to share with us how you got there because you were in the medical field for 30 years. But before we do get there, tell us just a little bit about yourself that you'd like everybody to know.
So this St. Patrick's Day, I will be married 30 years.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
I have, still at home, I have a 19-year-old son who is killing it in life right now. He's got a full-time job in the career that he wanted to, the career that he's actually going to college for.
Awesome.
He just informed us he's probably going to move out in 6 months to a year. So that like crushed my heart.
I know, we want them to fly, but when they go, we're like,
it's like, oh no, that went way too fast.
Yeah, yes.
And yeah, it does. It's just way too fast. And I have a stepson, but he's 40. We do kids one at a time. They're 20 years apart.
Okay, that's okay.
I don't recommend it, though. It's not any cheaper. I think it's a little more expensive in that fashion. Both of them are adopted, though. And that's part of my testimony is the struggle of infertility and things like that. But our youngest is Moses, and that's the one who's still at home. And we adopted him from Taiwan, and that is just probably one of the biggest God stories I've ever experienced. So
that's awesome.
It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, I know family is very important to you, and also obviously your career, but really transitioning to the career that you have now, your own business, in really the more holistic approach. So that has like been your passion and your mission besides your family, is really your healing journey and wanting other people to feel how you feel from healing, through healing, and not just putting little Band-Aids on symptoms that sometimes can create other things.
Exactly.
Yeah, unfortunately, in this world in which we live. So why don't we jump in a little bit? And I know that you've shared a little bit about, your faith journey. So when did you first become a Christian, or had a God moment, or when there is a God?
Yeah. So my very first God moment that I would, believe was God was I was a teenager. Actually, we're driving around on a Friday or Saturday night, and my friends wanted to get some alcohol. And I was like, okay, God, if you're there, don't let us get any alcohol. So we go to this first convenience store, and there's a cop in the parking lot, So we're like, okay. So they take off. They find another convenience store, and the guy won't sell them anything. And then we get to a third one, and there's like a guy standing at the door, and they're like, hey, we give you some money. Would you go in and buy? And everyone said no. And I was like, okay. All right. That was like my first experience.
Wow. That's very impactful as a teenager when you actually said that prayer.
Yeah.
And he answered.
And I was not raised in church. I was literally raised in a bowling alley. I was 3 days old and under a table at a bowling alley here in town. So, yeah.
Okay. So I take it that your parents like to bowl.
Yeah, I started league bowling when I was 6 years old.
Wow.
So
you must be good.
I was at one point. I haven't bowled in a long time, but I do, not to boast, but in, what was it? I think it was 16. It was 1986, and I was awarded Arizona's Outstanding Female Bowler of the Year. So,
Wow, that is awesome.
and
Wow.
that's just not your bowling skills. That's your, that you're competitive, but you're respectful, and all of that. Your character is part of that award. So,
Oh, that is a great award for a team.
yeah, that was kind of cool. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. So then that was your first God moment. And then how did you transition into, then really walking the walk and
So after I met my husband and after we were married, I was working in the hospital, and I usually worked like every other weekend. And unbeknownst to me, he had already had his faith, and he was kind of gently easing me into it. Because I had some family stuff that I had an aunt who I believe actually prayed me into my salvation. But when she initially was saved, she went to the extreme and would tell us that we were all going to hell and things like that.
Oh,
She was,
turn or burn, right?
yeah. But I mean, a fantastic, like, she's the one person out of my whole family that I know is in heaven right now. There's no question about it. But it was a rough start, And so he had mentioned that he wanted to, start going to church. And I was like, great, well, you can go on the Sundays that I'm at work. Right? Easy. So he did. And he got involved with this little church, and he got on the worship team because he loves music. And wouldn't you know it, all of a sudden I got this opportunity at work to cross train into another department, which was only open Monday through Friday.
Wow.
So then it's like, oh, great, now you can come to church with me. And I was like, okay. And that's kind of how it started. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we went to this tiny little church for 2 years, and then he was listening on the radio to this other pastor who was, we went from here to here. And we spent about 12 years at Victory Assembly of God Church under Pastor Zane. So,
wow, that's awesome. And so at that time, you were in the medical field. So what did you do in the medical field?
So I started my medical journey almost right out of high school. I went to Pima, or my community college here in town, for about a month or two, and I dropped out. And I had a friend's mom who sat me down for 2 hours and lectured me. She goes, "You got to do something. You got to figure it out." So my grandfather was always pretty sick growing up, so I thought, okay, I'll try medicine. So I became a medical assistant before I turned 19. And I got hired right out of my externship at the office that I did my externship at. And I was working as an MA for about 4 years. Liked it, but knew I wanted to do more. And I went back to school and got my medical degree in respiratory therapy.
Oh, okay.
And so then I worked in the hospital as a respiratory therapist.
Wow.
And then that's where the opportunity to cross train into the GI lab, which was officially only open Monday through Friday. That's how I ended up in church. And so, yeah.
That's good. God made that happen for you.
He did. And I worked in the GI lab either between the hospital and then some doctors that were in the hospital. They built their own outpatient surgery center, and they asked me to come join them. So across that time period, it was about 12 years that I spent working in the GI lab. So.
Yeah. Wow. Well, first, thank you for working in the hospital. So, because as my parents are elderly, my father's in the hospital a lot with his heart. And so bless all of you who work in the hospital. Yeah. It's a lot, Sometimes there's 10 people coming in and out of the room, and they're all so kind and so nice. I'd say 99% of them are always just want to help. And so, yeah, thank you for doing that for so long.
Thank you.
And then tell us a little bit about then your transition, what you're doing now, like what happened?
So I'm your classic healthcare provider gets sick. Medicine kept me sick. And then I finally gave up on medicine and found a naturopathic doctor who, oddly enough, does not use the modalities that I use. But she managed to take me from bedbound to, here I am running my own practice. And still a work in progress because there's always something. It was, I think, in my early 40s, I was diagnosed. The first diagnosis was celiac disease. And that was funny because I'd worked in a GI lab, for 12 years. I looked at this doctor. I'm like, how can I have celiac disease? I'm not skinny. I'm not malnourished. I don't have digestive problems. I can eat whatever I want. But I had 0 iron, 0 vitamin D. I wasn't absorbing any nutrition.
Right.
Now, my body's shape said otherwise. I was absorbing something, because I'm not tiny. And he thought that was kind of funny, but that's how this all started. So celiac disease was the first autoimmune condition that I was diagnosed with, and then I got a handful more to add to the list. So Epstein-Barr, hypothyroidism, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, all that fun stuff.
Wow, you had all the things.
Yes. And most of those were triggered because I was taking care of my mom for 4 years. She was diagnosed early with Alzheimer's disease.
Oh.
She was 63. She had an early diagnosis, and then she passed at 67. So,
wow, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
that's a lot. And so stress does cause a lot, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Emotions, stress, trauma, all of that. Yeah. Essentially, that's kind of the root cause, of everything. But getting to that, you have to go through some of the other so-called root causes. The most famous one right now is apparently parasites, and that's the big buzz one right now is parasites. So
the parasite. Yeah, I've seen videos. Oh, look at this! What I got out.
And I've had plenty of people go through parasite cleanses, and they send me their pictures of their parasites. So it was a good thing I had a history of working in a GI lab, so it doesn't scare me off.
Yes, that's good. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about you in your early 40s, and I was when I hit rock bottom for my health, I was 55, and it was due to stress, and so I had adrenal fatigue and Hashimoto's. It didn't go to the celiac disease and all that, but that was enough. Like I was like, this is how I'm supposed to feel at 55? Like, this is not okay. That's when I went to a naturopath like you and figured out what was going on. And so 6 years later, I feel very healthy, but I'm still very, I know what to eat. I know what not to eat, because I know how my body feels. And unfortunately, a lot of the stuff they have out there to eat is really bad for you. It's not, we're not eating like we used to, right?
Exactly.
All the pesticides, everything has just changed. Products, I know, on and on and on and on and on, all the things. And so it affects us differently. So too, a lot of people think I'm in my 40s, I shouldn't be feeling this way. And you're right. And now a lot of women in their 30s are feeling the way you were. And so if anybody out there is feeling, like Chris or I did, I really strongly encourage you that your medical doctors are only trained for so much. They can't know everything. And so you probably know better than I do, Chris, but they mean very well and they do great things. I love medical doctors because we need them. But many of them are not trained in like the nutrition and really how to get to the root cause. They certainly know how to, give you something to make it better, but not cure it. And so just really, I've heard so many stories of women say, I went to the doctor and they told me that here's an anti-anxiety medicine, or I'm just depressed, or and it's like, well, I think there's more to it. And so really not giving up on yourself and trust your gut. Like, you're a woman, you know.
100%. 100%.
Right? We know, like, if something's not right, just don't go, oh, the doctor said, they mean well, but really dive deep. And to see a person like Chris, of course, she does have her own practice now, and you can certainly reach out to her, because I know you do virtual as well, right?
Correct. Yeah, I do in-person and virtual.
Yeah, so certainly you can reach out to her, but there's so many naturopathic and holistic practitioners now popping up because of understanding the importance of overall health with the root cause.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so then so you went to your naturopathic doctor, and then when did you decide to become a holistic practitioner?
So that was one of that time frame where I was struggling with, okay, I have 30 years of medical knowledge. Do I go back into the hospital, which I really didn't want to? And don't get me wrong, before this current job that I have, owning my own business and whatnot, working in the GI lab was hands down my favorite job. It was rewarding. We would have clients. I mean, even to this day, I remember this one particular client who came in for a colonoscopy. We found a small cancer, and during that colonoscopy, we can remove things if they're not too big. So we remove the cancerous polyp, and she comes back the following 6 months, I think it was, for a follow-up scope. And she was just like, you guys saved my life. I'm so thankful. And she didn't have to do chemo or radiation or anything like that, because we got it all at that moment. We got it soon enough. So that was very rewarding in that regards, but nothing compared to what I'm doing now. So
yeah. And so what made you decide to go this route?
So God just kind of, everything fell into place. You know, we ended up at a new church, and I met new people, and I had a classmate of my son's elementary school. She was into doTERRA essential oils. And she's like, can I come over and talk to you? Right. So we talk about oils, and I'm sitting there with my medical background going, oh, snake oil, right? This is total snake oil. So I tried a few for my son's allergies. He had horrible allergies, and he got a little better. And I was like, okay, so there's something to this. So then I started dabbling a little bit and found Dr. Axe, and he said, hey, put a little melaleuca in your neti pot. And so we put a little melaleuca in my kid's neti pot and cut his sinus infections in half. And, you know, just it totally spiraled from there. And then more friends at new churches. One of my friends, good friends, is she works with a homeopathic doctor here in town. And she's like, you should come and intern with her. And I said, well, yeah, if she'll have me, I'd love to. So I sat down chairside with her for a year and a half. And while I was doing that, I did my diploma for homeopathy, and I just fell in love with it. And then from there became certified in nutrition response testing, the heart sound recorder, the Quest 4 bioenergetic tester, and yeah, so.
Wow. And so to back up a little bit, but because you shared earlier before we got on that, there was like a 2-year period where you were asking God, like you felt a little lost. And I know a lot of women, when we get to sometimes a certain age, our children are gone or almost gone, or, you know, or we're been in our career for so long and we feel like, God, there's more, Lord. I just know, because we feel it. And I think you said you felt that way, and for about 2 years.
For about 2 years, yeah. Yeah. And that was, like I said, it was after my mom had passed. So my son is well into, you know, Indian elementary school. And I'm like, Lord, what am I going to do? I mean, I don't mind being a stay-at-home mom, but there's nobody home but me now. You know, I went from taking care of everybody to being home alone, and I was like, I don't know that this is where I can have the biggest impact. And again, that's where everything fell into place. The people I met, you know, and starting with my snake oil.
Yes, isn't it? You know, God has such a sense of humor.
He does.
And he meets each one of us where we're at, right? And so he knew that you needed to be guided along, because you said to me earlier, like all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah,
Right.
that was God 6 months ago. Oh yeah. So he knew that he needed to help you along the way to get where he wanted you to get, because you were open to it and you prayed about it and you were patient. I think sometimes we pray, okay, God, what do you want me to do? You're not going to answer? Okay, I'm going to go do this, right? We don't like just chill and just allow him to bring the people in our lives, but to stop and listen. And he knows each one of us and our personalities, because he created us.
Right,
exactly. I think
exactly.
that's so funny that he brought the fish oil over the snake oil.
The doTERRA oil was my snake oil, yeah. And to this day, I still use it.
Yeah, exactly. I know essential oils are very beneficial. Yeah,
yes,
that's so funny. And that started you on to where you are today in really healing and helping people.
Yeah, it was crazy.
What an amazing journey.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about when you adopted your sons.
Sure.
Yeah.
So my oldest is my stepson.
Okay.
So that was an in-family adoption from my husband's first marriage. Yeah. Moses, he came to us. We tried for about 11 and a half years to have our own child. We went through all the infertility. The only step we didn't take was the IVF. We did the IUI, which is known as artificial insemination. We did that 3 times. Each time I did it, nearly killed me. So we're like, okay, we're done. And that was only halfway through that 11 and a half years. And I was like, all right, let's just pull all the doctors out of here, because it was affecting our marriage. And it's like, let's just, if it happens, it happens. And my husband's like, well, we can always adopt. And which I'm not against, but at that moment I struggled with it because I didn't want to feel like a replacement child. And I was worried that I wouldn't love the child the way they deserve to be loved, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And 11 and a half years later, we have these friends that were in a Bible study once a week with us. He calls us up and says, hey, you need to have us over. God has a word for you. And I was like, well, you come over every Friday night. He goes, yeah. He goes, this needs to be just us, you know, his wife and him and Rick and I. And so he came over and he sits down and he goes, okay, Chris, I have a word for you. And you got to promise not to hit me. And I was like, Why would I hit you?
Love that.
He's like, so the word that the Lord has for you is your child is waiting for you. And then instantly his eyes lit up and he goes, and I need to add, he just told me, don't miss this blessing. And so, I'm kind of set back because your child is waiting for you means I'm not going to get pregnant. And years before, we were talking earlier that God healed me from the endometriosis that was supposedly the cause of my infertility.
Right.
But I never got pregnant. And so I was like, okay. And we were actually right on our way out of town the very next day, flying to Michigan. My husband at the time was working for Family Life Radio, and he was doing an audit of the stations in Michigan. And I was like, okay, so we prayed, we cried, we had only told a handful of people that we knew would keep it private and pray.
Right.
And we come back and we tell the family what the plan is. And of course the family gets excited. And my brother and his wife at the time, they had offered, oh, well, we're going to help you. We're going to give you this money and it's going to cover the adoption. And I was like, okay, great. So they give us a check and I was like, that'll help. And she's like, what do you mean that'll help? I'm like, it's a lot more than that amount, and she's like, well, that's all we have. I said, that's all we need. That's the starting point. And that was just the exact amount to get the ball rolling. Once we decided, and it took a while for me to actually decide which route we were going to go. And we had decided that there was an agency local that was advertised on K-Love. Mm-hmm. And my sister-in-law at the time, she kept saying, hey, you should check this out. You should check this out. So we finally made an appointment, and they did both domestic and international adoption. And so we signed up for domestic adoption, and they had this information night. Well, we show up and they had switched it. They had turned it into international adoption night. And I just lost it. I was like, this is not what I signed up for. And I start crying and I'm like, I tell my husband, I'm going to go call my friend. So he goes inside. I go out and call my friend. I'm bawling my eyes out to her. And she's laughing at me. She's like, would you just go inside and get your baby? And I was like, okay.
Go inside.
She's like, just go inside, get the baby. I'm like, okay. So, but while I was on the phone with her, my husband's in and he's looking at all the paperwork, and he's watching this video of an orphanage in Taiwan. Mm-hmm. And the Holy Spirit says, your son is there. And he's thinking, oh, now I got to tell my wife we got to leave the country. He's like, oh my gosh. So then I go in and I sit in the meeting with my arms crossed. I'm like, I'm not open to anything. This is not what I planned. This is not what I wanted to do. My husband has all the paperwork. We kind of ride home in silence. He's trying to figure out how to tell me all this. So we get home and he goes, okay, I got to tell you, this is what happened. And he tells me about the video and he tells me what the Holy Spirit said. He goes, and then I have to show you something. And he picks up the information folder, and on the back of the information folder, it says, your child is waiting for you. And I was like, okay. Wow. So that started the process of adopting our son from Taiwan, who actually, thankfully, was not ever in an orphanage. Because of the process, there's an option that we could have him fostered. So we paid for foster care.
Okay.
And he was well taken care of and loved. And nice. And then we actually traveled to Taiwan and spent a week in Taiwan to bring him home. And we landed in Tucson the day he turned 9 months old. So I literally had a spiritual pregnancy.
Wow. Yes, you did.
Yes.
And again, it's just amazing how God led you on this journey.
Yeah.
With people in your life.
And he was in it the whole time. I mean,
yes.
We got the first round of money from my brother and my sister-in-law. And then we're sitting at the bank refinancing our house to come up with the rest. Mm-hmm. And we just signed the papers. You don't have access to the money for 30 days. And my phone rings while we're sitting in the bank. And they're like, okay, there's 5 boys available. Do you want one? And it's like, well, of course, right? You don't say no. So right. I'm crying. The bank manager's crying. Everyone's excited. We run over to my husband's office to check out the email because they were going to send us pictures. And I'm thinking, and they needed $5,000. And then, and I'm like, we can't access our money for 30 days. I'm like, I guess we're going to write a rubber check or something, you know? So we get to his office, we look at the pictures, we're, you know, totally elated. And that same week, they had every Friday they would do a prayer, little prayer circle at work. And he had mentioned that, you know, we needed to come up with, you know, $5,000 by the following Thursday, you know, to start this process. And he came back into work on Monday, and there was a small card in his little mailbox, and he opened it up, and one of the part-time receptionists, who is a widow, you know, doesn't have two dimes to rub together, she made this beautiful little card and said, "The Lord told me to give you this money," and she gave us a check for $5,200.
Wow.
And he's like, "But it's too much." I said, "It's not." I said, "They're sending his medical records to a doctor in Michigan who works off of donations." So we gave that as a donation for him to review his records, because they have to translate and all of that. And
God knew.
I mean, it was just, I still get goosebumps, you know? Yeah, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy.
Yes, so many God. And then go back a little bit before that, your endometriosis.
Yeah.
You had that, and so that was several years before, right?
Yeah, I was diagnosed early in our marriage. Because we decided to try to have a baby 6 months after getting married. And that's when, and I had problems, you know, as a teenager, horrible cycles, migraines, you know, heavy bleeding, things like that. So there was clearly something wrong. We just didn't think that there was anything wrong, because everybody's different.
Right.
And when I got the diagnosis of the endometriosis, I had like 3 or 4 surgeries to try to clear it up. And then we were at church, and our worship pastor, he's like, "Okay, you know, if anyone needs a healing, just stand up and accept your healing." And I was like, what do I got to lose, right? So I stood up, nothing. I didn't feel anything, no tingles, no goosebumps, no nothing, right? I was like, all right, Lord, if you're going to heal me, you're going to heal me. And again, didn't feel anything. And I'm like, okay, well, nothing happened, right? Not this time. Wasn't my time. That's fine. And then it was about 3 weeks later, or just before my next cycle would have started, that I realized I hadn't had to drop to my knees in pain. And I was like, wait a minute. I think he healed me. And I had no pain ever again from that moment on. But I also never got pregnant, you know. And
he had other plans.
And he had other plans, and he had the best plan, because we hands down my Moses is the greatest thing that's ever happened to us. So.
Yeah. He said, "I'm going to heal you,
but
then I'm going to give you something else.
I'm going to give you something better."
Yeah, I'm going to give you something better.
I didn't think, and again, I've never been pregnant, so I can't really speak to that. But I honestly believe that I love Moses probably more than I would have loved my own child. As horrible as that may sound.
No, I can relate, because we adopted all 3 of our children, and they were from the state, and they were older, 4.5, 6, and 7. So I can relate. Yes, I mean, they're yours. You love them. I mean,
oh my gosh,
it's like, it's hard to explain, but it
really is.
Really, like, so much love.
Well, and they were telling us now it's going to take a while to bond, and you have to give it time and whatnot. And this kid would glom onto me. For the first year, I had a bruise on my belly from where he would grab my belt with his toes, and his big toe would leave an imprint, and he'd smash his little cheek into my cheek, and it was just the greatest thing ever. Oh, and I mean, we didn't have any bonding issues, thank God. And because that is a real thing. We were just completely blessed that wasn't the issue. So. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And then you did stay home with him and cared for your mother. Yeah.
And she moved in. He was about 4 or 5 when she was diagnosed and moved in, and which it was hard, but he got to spend every day with his Mimi.
Yeah.
And we have some hilarious stories, from all of this, and I could look down the hallway and see him. He's sitting on the arm of her chair, and they're watching Sesame Street or whatever, and she'd get tired of him, and she'd pinch him on the leg, and he'd come running down the hallway. Mimi pinched me, and I'm like, well, she's ready to watch her own shows. You gotta, give her some space. And so we have all these little cute little stories, that never would have happened without that diagnosis. So
Right. All the good memories, although at the moment it doesn't seem like it's going to be a blessing, but it turns out, as you know, God always works things for good.
yeah. I mean, it's hard now when he graduated high school and now he's in college and he's got the job of his dreams. Those are things that I can envision my mom just, being so excited for him and so proud. And because God even gave her a vision of him before we knew we were getting him. When I showed her the first picture that they sent us, she goes, "Yep, that's my grandson. Those are his lips." And my son has very pronounced lips. It's kind of funny. And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, she says, "I had a vision. God gave me a dream, and that's my grandson." I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So yeah, it was absolutely incredible, the whole experience.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of going to Taiwan and eyes in my food, but it's okay. I managed.
Yes, you managed. Yes, you managed and brought home a beautiful baby boy that is now a young man. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, and God, how just God just walked you through everything, every journey that you've had. And so a little bit about your faith. Do you have prayer time? Do you engage with other women? I know you go to church, and so just any thoughts that you can help inspire other women that might be struggling right now?
So we're not in church right now. We've gone through a couple of churches that had some pretty big splitting that occurred and whatnot. But I wouldn't say that I'm not good at specific prayer time. I converse with him, I think, a lot. I get to my office and it's like, "Okay, Lord, this is your job. I'm just here to do it." Right. And that's the cool thing, especially with the in-person part of this. In the muscle testing, I get to lay hands on people, literally. I literally get to lay hands on them, and that's what's so amazing. So
yeah, no, I love what you said though, that you talk to him throughout the day.
Yeah.
This you called me to do this, Lord. So, and I think that's what he wants. Sure, he wants us to have some focused prayer time, but I think he wants relationship with us. And so if we can engage with him throughout the day, I believe that he wants that, because then he knows we are thinking of him and we know who's in control.
Yeah. And I had a very interesting situation when I first went into practice. I had a lady come in and we're doing the nutrition response testing, and she goes, "Oh, it's so peaceful in the office," which is hard to do because I'm in a chiropractic office who does pediatrics, so there's usually some kid screaming somewhere. Oh, yeah. And she's like, "It's so peaceful," and I'm like, "That's what I'm going for, peaceful." And she goes, "And I can feel all the spirits in the room." She goes, "And I can feel my mom's spirit." And I said, "Okay, don't take this wrong." He said, "And you're more than welcome to make a decision to leave if you don't like what I have to say." I said, "But there's only one spirit allowed in this room, and it's the Holy Spirit." And I opened my office door and I said, "All other spirits must leave, including your mother's. Sorry." And I closed the door. And she's like, "Oh, no, it's okay." And then she ended up, I take care of the whole family. So
yeah. No, I love that because there is a spiritual world out there, and you're right. The only spirit that we should allow ever is the Holy Spirit, even if we think it's a parent spirit or somebody, because they can disguise themselves.
Correct.
Satan and his spirit can disguise themselves as people that we think, "Oh, that's my mom's spirit," when really, probably not.
Right.
So that's really good advice.
Yeah.
You're sensing something, just to really allow the Holy Spirit and invite everybody else out in the authority in the name of Jesus Christ. And I think a lot of us forget the power that we have with being believers in the name of Jesus. And the Bible talks about we have authority because we have Jesus to ask all the ones to leave us alone, even the evil one, get out. And even in our minds, when we are thinking bad thoughts about ourselves or our health or our body. I've even realized not to say anything bad about my body, because God created my body. So God, you created this body, so it's going to heal because you created this body to heal. And so that's
we are self-healing. Yeah.
Yeah, because it says, the power of the tongue can bring life or death.
For death, yeah.
And it doesn't mean, it includes saying mean things to people, but really, what are you saying to yourself? And I think women, we beat ourselves up way too much. we are talking negative about ourselves. We compare ourselves with others. We think we should have this or that, and we're not good at this. Oh, I didn't do that as a parent. Like the list goes on, and God does not want us to do that.
Right.
And you, I'm sure, have learned all of that as being the holistic practitioner.
Well, and I still struggle with that in myself.
We all do, right? We all do.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
Yeah, we all do, right? But the power of that is absolutely huge. So, and I think you just innately do it. It sounds like when I've been listening to you, we've talked before, like, I don't know, you just kind of innately do it. It's just part of who you are.
Yeah.
Having that faith.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like I said, I'm not very structured in that, except for the fact that I'm constantly going, okay, God, now what, you know? So.
That's what he wants. You're asking him and he's guiding you. And then you're expecting an answer.
Yeah.
Even with the endometriosis, you were like, okay, God, I didn't feel anything. So I guess it's not my time yet. That's also okay, because you accepted the fact that maybe he doesn't want to heal you, because he didn't heal everybody in the Bible.
Right.
There were people that he chose not to, because he said, you can bear this, right? I want you to bear this. So we have to be willing to say, okay, if you don't want to heal me, Lord, then help me. What is it that you want me to do with it? Right. So but he healed you. That's so awesome.
He did.
Yeah. And so is there anything else, any other like God story that you can think about that you would like to share with women to inspire them, or any last minute things?
Outside of watching God's hand on my son's life, I mean, that has been incredible, especially these last 2 years. You know, I had a client who worked at the place that my son's a welder, and he's in college for welding also. And I had a client who's a welder, and he was actually working at the same place. And I was like, hey, maybe you could, hook my kid up when he turns 18. He's like, yeah, sure. So he put this gentleman as a reference, and he didn't get hired. And so Moses applied 2 or 3 more times to get hired on there. And he finally got an internship. It was a paid internship. I mean, it's paid. Take it, right?
Awesome. Yeah.
And his first day on the job was the last day of my client's day there. So it had nothing to do with my client and everything to do with God putting him there. And I mean, this poor kid, he's had 3 car accidents. Again, God has protected him. They haven't been 2 out of the 3 haven't really been his fault. And I'm just like, this last one, he ended up going between 2 trees. I'm like, if you don't see that God has a plan for you, he's like, no, Mom, I know.
Wow.
And he's drawing closer and closer to him. And in the conversations that we have, that we can even see that.
Yeah.
And whatnot. So it's just, that's been the most incredible thing right now is watching God's hand on my kid.
Yeah. As a young man, because he's 19. And so, and that's when he is going out into the world and he's really finding who he is. So it's good that he's still living with you, because you can have those our conversations and as an adult, right? And not as a child. So a couple things that just really hit me about being patient with the Lord and also never giving up. So your son applied 3 times.
I think he's mentioned it was probably 4 or 5 times total.
Okay. And he didn't give up.
Different positions, and he didn't get them.
Yeah. And he didn't give up. And so I think many times too, we maybe try once and we give up. We go, oh, I guess I wasn't supposed to do that. But we have to be very prayerful, because God may want us to do it again. I have a very dear friend. I was an educator for 27 years, and she's been an educator for many, many years. And she knew God laid it upon her heart to be a superintendent of schools. She's, I think, applied 5 or 6 times. And I think the 7th time, she's now the superintendent of the 2nd largest school district in this state.
Very cool.
God's timing.
Yeah.
He knew he laid that dream upon her heart. Everyone's like, why are you going to try again? Don't you get that message? She's like, no. My message is not your message. My message is from him. And he laid it on my heart. I still have a desire and a passion. Right. So just like your son, he kept trying and trying and trying. And I think sometimes we give up too soon. I think the first time God is saying no. But I want to teach us something. Right. Yeah. And then with you, for 2 years after your mom passed, you were kind of like, Lord, what do I do? What do I do? And you just had to be patient. And he's brought you along to now serve others in the capacity of healing them.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And get their life back. Like without your health, you have just tiredness and you don't have a life, really.
Right. Yeah, no, it's been incredible. It's been an incredible ride.
Yeah, and then you waited, 11 and a half years to have your amazing son. So you have really not only all your God moments, but really just being patient and trusting in the Lord.
It's so funny. Yeah. Because when we were first married and we were praying at night, first married and after I started going to church, and my husband was praying every night. And then one night he was praying and he asked for patience. And I was like, nope, time out, Lord. I am not asking for patience. I have plenty of opportunity to practice patience. I'm not asking for any more. And my husband was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. And then, of course, then my entire life has been patience.
God works in mysterious ways.
It's like,
Yes,
okay.
yes. That definitely does happen for sure.
That
So
sense of humor.
yes, he sure does. Well, Chris, I just want to thank you so much for your time and sharing your journey with us and how God has brought you, just watched you and helped guide you through your life and where you are today, like serving people in the medical field. Awesome. Like I shared earlier, but now really healing people from the root cause and really giving them hope about their health and their life. That's truly an inspiration to all of us, and
Thank you.
passion in answering God's call. So I want to thank you for that. And certainly I'll put all your information down. If people want to reach out to you, if they have questions or want to have a consultation call with you, I know you have a variety of different things that they can contact you for, and being able to help both virtually and in person. So I will go ahead and do that. And I just want to thank you again for being here with us today. You're amazing.
I appreciate this. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course, it was my pleasure. All right, and to all you ladies out there, I'll see you next time. Take good care. May God richly bless each and every one of you. Bye for now.